So in the late aughts, like 2007 through 9 or whatever, I guided several expeditions to Papua New Guinea, which is an awesome place. I'd love to go back there. I wonder if it's changed at all. You know, it was just very, very remote and rural, and folks there are kind of living like in the Stone Age. It was just extraordinary. And so the cool thing about it is you have this amazing village culture, and the people are so welcoming, and it's so amazing to sit down with them. And like a lot of what you do is just kind of like sit with them and see their daily life, and they're very welcoming. Like the chief of the village meets you personally upon arrival because like these people just there's not a lot of interaction at that time. Anyway, so a local company set out to build like several really, really high end eco lodges to support like Western visitors visiting these really remote locations. And of course, it's all part of this idea of ecotourism and conservation travel to help get income to these remote communities to help with things like education and healthcare and food and clothing and all that, just to provide some income with local guides. And you know, when you visit the village, you're obviously paying them for visitation and whatnot, but it's all very, very authentic. Anyway, so these lodges are really nice. Like when you look at them, you're like, oh my gosh, that looks like a house in Aspen. You know, it's like really, really nice. But then they're on the edge of just, you know, BFE, like just total wilderness. Like who knows what's out there? There aren't any like real crazy predators, but there are like headhunters, or there were, and there are, you know, these, I wouldn't want to like bump into a tribe in the forest unannounced. You know what I mean? So it's really, really wild place. And so we're at this lodge and we're in between activities, and this guy apparently just decided, like, one of my travelers decided to go on a hike on his own without telling anybody
Oh God.
in the adjacent forest. And you know, he saw a trail, and it's probably a wildlife trail. Like there really weren't extensive trails in the forest. Um, these areas are really well known for birds of paradise. There are like dozens of species, and each one of these lodges, in addition to being close to like local villages and extraordinary culture, there's usually a set number of bird of paradise um, species that you can see. So there's like rudimentary trails, but like it is dense, impenetrable forest. I mean, Papua New Guinea, the reason it's still so remote and rural and undeveloped is because most people think it just can't be developed. The topography is way too many ravines and gorges. It's too hilly. Like you just couldn't efficiently build. So to get into a lot of these places, whether they're doing any sort of humanitarian aid or development, it's all helicopter. Like there just really aren't roads. But this guy decides to go for a little afternoon hike. Doesn't tell anybody, and then you know by the time dinner comes around, his wife comes, is like, have you seen such and such? I don't remember his name, but I'd protect it to keep him anonymous. But have you seen such and such? And I'm like, no, isn't he with you? Like, what do you
You're
mean?
his
I don't
wife?
know. There's like this lodge and there's that hill. Like what? I don't know. And so we're just checking the whole lodge. We go into every single room. Like, is he here? Is he here? Just you know, because if we're gonna set out in the forest to find him, like that's a big deal. Eventually, we conclude that someone saw him walk into the forest, like one of the folks at the lodge or something. Didn't say anything about it, and now it's on. Now it's like search party, and it's getting dark, and so basically we had to hire uh, local tribesmen that were formerly like hunters, headhunters, to use their skills of like looking for little branches broken and like tracking scents and so he's being hunted now for all for the
Oh
right
my
purposes,
God.
for
Yes.
all the right
What?
purposes, but like at the end of the day, like I didn't hire these guys to go find him, like the lodge did. And they're like, no, these are the guys that you want tracking a person in the forest. I'm like, do you? Hopefully all of them comes back. And it takes a long time. And I'm just thinking, like, how did this guy get himself into such a situation? Because like we had schedules and he knew to be back at a certain time. And it's getting cold because it's I don't remember the elevation, but it's one of these rainforests where it's hot in the day but very cold at night and very humid. So like if you don't have proper gear, and so, long story short, and this is also kind of in the days where like cell phone coverage wasn't ubiquitous, and certainly we're so far remote. Like, so we weren't able to know where these trackers were. But after like 4 hours from getting the search party out. They finally get him, and they walk him back, and he's walking out of the forest with these, guys like bones through their noses, and
Oh
like
my god.
and the like locking arms, because he was kind of like weak. I think his nervous system was probably just freaking wrecked. Like I think he really got himself into a pickle, and he knew it. And yeah, he's like, just looks like a ghost coming out of the forest. Like, and who knows, like if like I don't think those trackers spoke English, so like who knows what was going through his head as they approached and made noises and were like making shouts. And the way that the search parties would often communicate is from like bird calls and like reptile calls, like weird little like clicks and sounds that like help them communicate to the forest without talking. And like who knows what was going on to this guy's head as he was hearing this approach. But yeah, end of the story is that he's safe and sound. He got back, but yeah, he went in the forest, he got turned around, all the trails looked the same, and eventually he just decided to like sit down. And the right thing to do is like don't get further in, wait for people to find you. But it was a long time before people found him. And that was a really nerve-wracking experience. This was actually before the Kenya trip. And just knowing how quickly someone else's decision that you don't really have any governance over, or even awareness, can turn into like a pretty serious life issue. Unfortunately, all's well that ends well. We got him back. His wife, like, I'm not sure if I remember completely right, but like when she saw him, she like walked up to him, and I think she like slapped him, or like
Oh
hit him,
my
like punched him, and
god.
then gave him a huge embrace, like damn you for making me worry so much. But he was a great guy, like just the naivete of people in different lands. So yeah, that was another one that comes to mind. Is just I was very nervous. I'm like, oh my god, this is probably only a handful of years in my guiding career. Like, did I just lose someone in Papua New Guinea? Like, that's no way to. So yeah, wasn't a real great feeling. But again, the crazy catastrophes kind of make for sort of interesting stories, hopefully.